newspapers, it's on our internet, our TV, our Instagram, maybe even in the colon. We don't know. Man, that's a really obscure reference. No one's getting that one. If you get that reference, leave a comment, please. I'm interested now. The point is, the vegan movement is rapidly growing in popularity, especially amongst young people. But why? Well, first let's look at the what. A vegan is a person who lives a lifestyle that doesn't involve using any animal products. A vegan doesn't eat meat like a vegetarian, but they also don't eat eggs, dairy or honey, or wear products like leather or silk that involve the suffering of animals. Often the assumption is that vegans are living this perilous diet out of reasons of fashion, a desire to be anti-establishment, or even due to an eating disorder. The common understanding is that veganism isn't healthy, as there are some serious requirements being missed by not eating meat, such as protein and calcium. Well, that's where you're wrong. This is the part where I'd like tear off my shirt to reveal some bulging abs, but I have literally no muscle. I'm actually surprised I can hold up the weight of my own hand. I'm not a good poster boy for this. Hey, here's a good looking vegan dude. That's much better. The truth is, not only is it easy to tick all the boxes in a vegan diet, but it's actually much safer. More on that in a bit. There are 3 core aspects to veganism when you're looking at reasons to join the cult. It's not a cult, don't call it a cult. It's not a cult, I called it a cult, don't call it a cult. Cult leaders don't like it when you call it a cult. The first one is an easy one, nutrition. Meat, dairy and eggs are really bad for you. There's no debate about it. It's been scientifically proven that all 3 are horrifically bad for humans to consume. Humans are, by nature, herbivores. You see our jaw moves up and down and side to side like cows or horses, with our molars grinding against each other to break down plant matter as we mix saliva with the food in our mouth to help digest it. We also have muscular lips and a tongue to help manipulate food into our mouth. Carnivores, however, have a hinge-like mouth that opens and closes along a much tighter pivot, and their teeth fit together in a scissor-like fashion for tearing meat off of a carcass. Carnivores also don't release saliva into their mouth to digest, they just swallow the meat whole. Like other herbivores, we also have much longer small intestines for breaking down plant foods that contain much more fibre, and a stomach that sits at a relatively low level of acidity. Carnivores have a very simple stomach with a much smaller small intestine. Their stomach acidity is considerably higher, so as to safely digest the meat they consume and kill off any nasty bacteria or pathogens they pick up from eating dead shit. It's worth pointing out that our biology isn't just a bit herbivore and a bit carnivore. Bears and raccoons are both omnivores, i.e. they eat both, and their physiology is very different to ours, with traits that swing wildly in either direction. We are firmly, scientifically speaking, herbivores. Ever wonder why carnivores can eat raw meat and it damn near kills us? So, we're not supposed to eat meat, granted, but we do, and we have been for ages, so what's the problem? Well, thanks for asking, voice in my head, good question. First off, meat is killing us. Meat, the flesh of dead animals, traditionally cows, pigs and chickens, have long been lauded for their place in a healthy diet, especially when talking about protein. Check out this smiley fella, isn't he lovely? This is Colin T. Campbell, a scientist who comes from a cattle ranching background. Colin here spearheaded the groundbreaking China study, documented it in a book of the same name you absolutely should read, wherein he provided, without a shadow of a doubt, in experiments and mostly observations that take place over the course of decades, that protein, as consumed from animal products, massively increase cancer growth. You see, a carcinogen, or cancer-causing substance like a seed, enters the body, and if it takes, a cancer will develop. A diet high in animal protein increases the chance of that carcinogen taking big time. Think of it like planting a seed. You drop it into the ground, and then you fertilise the thing with steroids. That's how farming works, right? Now, obviously there is more science to it, and we will go into that in a future video in more detail, but Campbell's findings have been echoed by other researchers, and the profound effects are being studied and discussed in wider and wider circles. Also, the World Health Organization recently designated hot dogs, ham, bacon and sausages as carcinogens, cancer-causing. As for dairy, the king of calcium, super bad for you. Think of it this way: a human's milk is full of fat in order to make little hairless babies pudge up to keep warm and store energy. A cow's milk is loaded with protein, cancer, that is designed to make a very small calf a very big calf in a short amount of time. A person drinking that growth spurt cocktail that may or may not contain pus, more on that in a future video, is at risk of diabetes, fat development, early puberty, cancer, man boobs, ovarian growths. There have even been studies linking it to sudden infant death syndrome. Consuming animal products is killing us. That's why as meat consumption goes up in a country, so do diseases like cancer, obesity, and diabetes. The second aspect of veganism, the environment. The industry behind growing, feeding, and breeding the animals that the world eats is destroying the planet. Now I fuck about a lot, granted, but I don't exaggerate. Water, land, and endangered species are all being systemically decimated as this billion-dollar industry pumps carbon and methane into the air and poisons the land in order to make a quick buck. The ocean is being overfished literally to breaking point, with entire species on the way out. It takes 18 times more land to feed a meat eater per year than it does a vegan. 91% of the destruction of the Amazon rainforest is for livestock. Our planet, that shiny blue bastard there, 45% of all land on Earth is covered by livestock. It sounds apocalyptic, but there are researchers now predicting conflicts not too far in our future over limited food and water. Wars being fought over a lack of water. I've seen this future, and it doesn't end well. Now, if you're not concerned about your own health or the health of the entire rest of the planet, first off, I think you need to revisit your priorities, because I'm kind of fairly sure you fall into that Venn diagram somewhere. You should consider the animals themselves. Now, this is a harder one to discuss, as it's the one thing we're all kind of desensitized to. We know that cows and chickens and pigs get killed to make food. That's how it works. Well, I want you to think about that for a moment. A cow is a living, breathing animal with the ability to feel pain, but also contentment. A cow will be happy in situations it likes, and sad in situations it doesn't. A cow will feel pain when it's hurt. It will feel fear when it comes into a situation that seems dangerous. They can smell blood. They can hear the screams of other cows in pain. They aren't a dumb walking slab of beef. They feel, just like we do. Now imagine the confusion and betrayal they feel when they get hurt, because that's the truth here. It's not sunshine and daisies in a lovely field somewhere until suddenly they're dead. They are reared in horrific conditions, treated like objects, kicked and hosed and mistreated until they are finally dragged to their death. In pain. Scared. It's not just meat either. When dealing with baby chicks, workers check the gender. If it's a female, off it goes to be reared for egg laying. If it's a male, the live baby chicks, assuming they don't get torn to shreds by the tread of the conveyor belt or dropped on the floor to be stepped on, they get dropped into a grinder, where they are ground up, alive, and awake into mulch. Waste product. If you were one of the people that rightly lost their minds at the footage of the Yulin Dog Festival last year, I want you just to think about what separates a cow or a pig from a dog, because really they're not that different. Now, there is a lot to talk about when it comes to these three core principles, and I'll be talking more about them in much more detail in future videos. Now, if you found this interesting, look it up, ask other vegans, check the channel here for our videos, hit Facebook. You can even get in touch directly on Facebook or by email from the website. Being a vegan is really easy, and when you see what eating meat is contributing to, it's impossible to imagine going back. So, get in touch, like, subscribe, share, do whatever. If you want to support Keep It Vegan in making more of the very best content in the history of edutainment ever, head over to our Patreon page. Every supporter counts. Remember, there's a new video like this every Tuesday, and it's Food Friday on, Friday. This week, super easy to make vegan chili from scratch. Oh shit! I'm going to be chopping chilies with this massive car on my hand. Well, there's some weekend entertainment for you. If that's not worth heading over to Patreon, I don't know what is.